www.mdhousing.org, and they will see the links for the foreclosure prevention as well as the other programs that are offered at the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development.
Great, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're Director of Community Programs.
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background and responsibilities?
Well, Bill, I have been with the department since 2000. My background is in retail, finance, and banking. I did a little stint as a bank manager, and eventually that led to me becoming a loan officer in a nonprofit quasi-government.
So you've been on both sides of this.
Right,
fence.
been on both sides. Eventually doing development lending for houses, and that sort of gave me the taste for community development and being involved in the housing sector. So I went from that and eventually did a little stint actually as a nonprofit director for an organization that was doing housing development, and then I ended up at the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development working with the Maryland Mortgage Program. And as a result of that, I eventually moved down into the Neighborhood Revitalization Division, where we're doing a lot of things to build communities, not necessarily, whereas in the department where I dealt with the Maryland Mortgage Program, we were actually dealing with customers and making mortgages. Now dealing more with programs that include business loans, loans to the nonprofits that are working across the state to help build neighborhoods, and loans to cities and towns to build their infrastructure. And so we have a pretty wide array of programs and services.
Who's eligible? When you say loans and grants, you've got our viewers' ears perked.
Oh, okay.
They're thinking about, is my organization eligible? Is my nonprofit, is my business eligible? What are the eligibility? Where are your areas of concentration?
Well, of course, the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development is a statewide organization. Mm-hmm. A lot of the loans and grants that we offer are actually offered in what we call priority funding areas. Don't want to get too bogged down in detail, but basically when Governor Glendenning was in office, we had the Smart Growth Initiative, and under that initiative we were saying, okay, we want to make sure that we contain sprawl by funding activities and projects in areas where we want growth to occur. And so the Maryland Department of Housing and Community sort of followed that line and saying, okay, well, we'll offer our programs and services in these priority funding areas, and those loans and grants can do everything from, again, helping you with a small business, helping you with, we do facade improvements for businesses. We've had projects to help folks do playgrounds. Several of the restaurants around town have gotten funding from us. Well, water towers, roads, the whole range.
Everything.
Revitalizing communities, that's sort of what we're about.
How can folks find out more about whether they're eligible and whether their area is one of the priority areas?
Well, there's a really quick, easy definition of priority funding areas. Anything that's any incorporated municipality in the state of Maryland is any city that's incorporated is automatically a priority funding area. Everything in Maryland inside the Washington Beltway is automatically a priority funding area, and everything inside the Baltimore Beltway is automatically a priority. So that's the quick, easy definition. But in order to get drilled down to the details, you would go to our website, www.mdhousing.org, and then click on the link for programs, and you'll see a list that sort of lays it out for you based on what you want to do. If you want to build housing, if you want to revitalize communities, you'll see the link. You click the link that's applicable to what it is that you're interested in doing, and then you'll see each program listed with the eligibility criteria, and you'll have contact information there.
Yeah, well, it's a great website and very clear directions and lots of information there. So
I think since Governor O'Malley took over and sort of tried to get all of our agencies sort of on the same page with these websites, we've seen a lot of improvement. Because even me, when I'm out searching for information on the web, and you go to some of these web pages, and you click and you click, you go link after link. It's sort of hard to find information.
Yeah.
But I think one of the features that our website now has, we have those little scrolling icons. So whatever is current, if, for instance, there's one that sort of scrolls past that'll allow you to click right to the link for foreclosure information. Recently, the governor announced some of the neighborhood stabilization programs coming out of that federal funding from the Recovery Act. You'll see a link for that. So it's a pretty good website, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of getting the information out by that.
Great. Let's talk. You mentioned before that, of course, home ownership is still going on, and the Maryland Mortgage Program is still providing incentives to folks and assistance to folks in buying. How active is it? Well,
I mean, as I said, folks are still buying houses, of course, in this environment, not quite as active as it was. But one of the things that we still work on is developing the partnerships with employers, for instance. We have a program called House Keys for employers, where the House Keys partner with us. It's called House Keys. The employers partner with us, and they'll provide a matching grant to a grant or a loan that we might give folks to help them with down payment and closing cost assistance. Because that we discovered a long time ago that getting together that closing cost assistance and down payment money was one of the issues that folks had in terms
Maryland
of
had one of the highest in the country.
Right, because we were one of the most difficult. So we partner with a lot of employees, whereby those employees, I think we've signed up over 100 employers who say, okay, I'll match whatever you're willing to give folks through your grant or your down payment and closing cost assistance loan. I'll match it as an employer, and I'll help my employees buy houses.
Boy, that makes it even more affordable, huh?
It makes it affordable because we certainly work to keep the program itself affordable in that.
And I guess, would the employers be listed also on the website?
Yes, there's a link of the employers who are in the program on our website under that House Keys for Employers.
Sounds like that should be the first thing. If I was thinking about buying a house, that'd be the first thing I'd do then.
Yeah, well, in the general environment, Bill, I think we've heard a lot of negative about the housing industry and about home sales, but I think now we're beginning to hear that sales are picking up a bit and people are beginning to pay attention, because it's still, I think, buying a house is one of the opportunities that folks have to build legacy wealth so that they can have assets and build wealth that they can pass on to the next generation.
And that still makes a great deal of sense.
And it does.
That's right. That's right.
And of course, we have historically low interest rates based on the environment, so more affordable.
Indeed. And so you would say that the status of housing in Maryland is improving.
It's improving, but I think we still have to get on the other side of the foreclosure issue. And again, we continue to work hard to do that. One of the things that we've done in that regard is develop a partnership with nonprofit agencies across the state. Under our HOPE program, under our Homeowners Preserving Equity program, we provided more than $3 million to help nonprofit organizations bolster what they do when folks call them to say, I need help to prevent my home from going into foreclosure and to make a decision.
That strengthens communities, and that's not just a handout, because that's something that helps that neighborhood and all the property values in that neighborhood stay up.
We heard for a long time that the whole issue of foreclosures and how having a foreclosed house in your neighborhood would bring down property values and make that neighborhood less desirable. And I think Maryland heard that, and we took it seriously. And as part of the federal government's recovery package, we were able to receive funding under what's known as the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, so that the local counties or cities could develop a plan to take control of these foreclosed properties and keep them in use or recycle them as for some other use other than home ownership, in order to keep neighborhoods from losing value, because it's important that our neighborhoods and our communities stay strong.
And part of that is also keeping the revenue flowing to make sure that the taxes don't have to go up. So it's a double good.
Absolutely. I mean, if the tax base
If it
we
drops,
know
then we pay more for
we've
basic
been
services.
hearing, we've
That's
been
right.
hearing about the budget in Maryland and how revenues have been down in general, and the revenues from home sales is a major part of that.
Yeah, folks need to remember when they hear about the bailout and various things that it helps preserve that not only the neighborhoods, but also it helps them from paying even more taxes.